Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard 101 video. Today, I'm going to be doing a recommendation I saw in the comments. Why is my camera so high? My camera's so high. I'm doing a recommendation I saw in the comments, and that is listing the strengths and weaknesses of every school so that you can figure out what school you want to be. Now, I've done something like this in the past, but I can really just do all the videos in the past again if I wanted to, and just make an infinite amount of videos. Today I'm going to go over the strength and weakness of each school, why you'd want to pick them over other schools, that kind of thing. Because they definitely do each have their own strengths, and you might, not know which one you want to pick, or you might have picked one and you're feeling mad and you don't know which one you want to pick. So, let's go over that. We're going to just go in order. We're going to start with Fire, which in my opinion, right now is my favorite school. It's probably, well, okay, it's not my favorite school, but it's one of my favorite schools, probably top 2, and it's, in my opinion, the best school in the game right now. And now I would like to amend the fact that this is not PvP. For PvP, it's completely different. Like, Ice, I think, is the best school for PvP, and as you'll find out, I think it's easily the opposite for PvE. And it's important to note that this is not a PvP channel, so if you want PvP, go somewhere else. Let's start with Fire. Now, I'm going to start with the weaknesses because this is easier. For Fire, there's a few main weaknesses. In the beginning of the game, their accuracy is pretty low. They have a 75% chance of hitting, which is that's second only to Storm in terms of low accuracy. Storm has a 70% chance, which means about 25% of the chance you'll fizzle. Not exactly true, but definitely important to note that they have the second lowest accuracy, so you'll be fizzling a bit more. On top of that, their base health is one of the lowest in the game. I think the only ones lower than it are obviously Storm and I think Myth, but their low health is definitely a thing, and really that's their two major weaknesses. Now, let me go over their strengths. One, they are definitely the most damaging school in the game. It used to be Storm way back in the day, and it is still Storm right up until probably about level 130, and then around level 130 it starts turning around. For some reason they made Fire have more damage. Nowadays Fire can get up to 200% damage in gear, and Storm cannot. They can only get up to like 190. So Fire is the most damaging school in the game in terms of percent damage. So that's really important to note. If you want a heavy hitting school, Fire is definitely one for you. The reason why I picked Fire over Storm, I knew back in the day, obviously, that Fire was a heavy-hitting school, and my options in my brain were Fire and Storm. I picked Fire every time because Storm is just not as interesting to me as Fire. Could be, I don't know, I'm a Leo, summer months, that kind of thing, I don't know. But Fire is just cool, and I definitely like it a bit better. So keep in mind that in regards to damage, they're going to be up there. In regards to their weakness of health and accuracy, obviously both of those go away once you reach level 100. Fire's health never really is that much of a problem, but it definitely, you can see it gets up there. I'm at 140 right now, I'm at 7,000 health. It's not nearly as much as, like, say, Balance over here, who has, almost, like, 8,500. But, I'm no Storm, who has 5,000 health. So that's important to know. My accuracy, obviously everyone who gets the Malastare gear will have over 100% accuracy. That's just how it works. Critical is decent, and then every other stat is up to you really to figure out how to min-max that. So basically a summary of Fire: heavy hitting, at first lower health, lower accuracy, but if you really want a heavy hitter, you're going to want to pick Fire. Next, we'll move on to Ice. Now, Ice, in my opinion, is not a school you want to pick as a beginner. It's not a beginner school. It's not going to be easy. And the reason for that is that Ice has a significant problem. And that significant problem is that they are pathetically weak throughout the game. right? To put it into perspective, their Waterworks gear gives like a total of 32% damage compared to every other school whose minimum is like 50 something, right? Like, I think the person in second place is maybe Balance, and I think Balance still gives them almost 60% damage compared to Ice's 30 something, right? So that's important to note. But that weakness is obviously trumped by the fact that their resist is insane compared to most schools. For example, my Ice Wizard, that's a 130, has a base resist right now of like 60%, and that's when he's wearing his damage gear, which obviously isn't as good as I could get. I could get higher resist, I could get higher damage, but it exists. Now, one thing that's really important to note about this school, if you are going into the school with the idea that you're going to solo quest and, you know, hit everything and have a good time, you're probably not going to have a good time. And the reason for that is that it really is weak. And you don't get a blade, which, to put it into perspective, Fire gets their blade in the Ravenwood Enrollment quest. You don't get a blade until level 38. So keep that in mind when you're picking Ice. But obviously, you have the most health in the game, you have the most resist in the game, and you're going to have a good time if you play defensively and play with shields. Next, we're going on to Storm. Honestly, I would not recommend Storm as a beginner school either. I would definitely recommend Fire or Death, but if you want to pick Storm, it's not a bad choice. And the reason why I wouldn't recommend it in the beginning is for a few reasons. One, they have the lowest health in the game. Definitely have the lowest health. They always will have the lowest health. Even at 140, they still only have like 5,000 health compared to second place's like 7,000, right? So that's important to note. Second, their accuracy is the lowest in the game. They have a 70% accuracy. It's going to be very noticeable that your accuracy is lower than others, right up until you get that Malistaire gear. Or you get the Waterworks gear. The Waterworks gear also takes you up to almost 100% accuracy. But obviously, their damage is one of the highest in the game. Their critical is one of the highest in the game. You're going to have a good time if you want to do damage to Storm. Obviously, as I said, it's a bit lower than Fire's once you get up to Dragoon gear. But it's still definitely up there. It definitely still has a large amount of damage. And it's a good school. Decent beginner's choice. Life is next. And obviously, life is life. You heal things, you're going to have a good time. Personally, I actually do think that this is a good beginner school. Life is good for beginners for a few reasons. One, obviously they have good heals, but they also have the second highest resist and healing in the game, which is really nice. But on top of that, they actually do a decent amount of damage. I think people really underestimate Life's damage in this game, but they do have a decent amount. Life Waterworks gear has for some reason, I think it's the third highest damage, or the second highest damage, out of any set of Waterworks gear. I don't know why, but it does. So keep that in mind. Life does do a bit of damage. I'd say that their weakness is probably their damage early game, but late game they actually pick up a bit on that. They obviously don't have as much as Fire, or as Death, or as Myth, or as Storm, but they're up there. They actually, I would say they're on par with Myth, which is pretty good. So I would rank Myth as actually a pretty good starter school. So let's move on to Myth. Now Myth, in my opinion, is actually a decent starter school. It's not the best, not the worst. It's decent. I do love Myth. I have a soft spot for Myth. I always have. But I would definitely recommend that if you want Myth, you need to be wary. Because they aren't the strongest in anything, but they aren't the weakest in anything either. They're kind of right that middle of the road school. They have decent damage, they have decent health, decent accuracy, decent resist, but they don't particularly shine in any category, I would say. So keep that in mind if you're going to pick Myth. You're not going to specifically shine in anything, but you're going to have minions if you want to solo. Personally, I've never liked minions. I've never really used them, but you can use them if you want to. So that is the Myth School. Last up is the Death School, and let me tell you, this is what I would recommend picking as a beginner. It's definitely the easiest beginner school. Death has one of the highest healths in the game. They have a decent resist, pretty good damage actually, and they have the nice added benefit of having heal back spells. And they have a lot of heal back spells, obviously. Why is Death so good now? Well, one, heal back spells, enchants now do the full enchant on them, which is just really, really good. And that means that if you get monstrous at level 1, your ghouls are going to be doing about 400 damage, heal back 200, that's almost all your health. You're going to be having a really, really good time with heal back. You'll almost never die. If you're close to dying, just attack something. You know, it's as simple as that. And I think that this school is easily the best for beginners. You're going to have a decent time with Death. Their stats, as I've said, are pretty good, actually. None of them are particularly bad. None of them are, like, shining, but it exists. So, Death definitely is up there. That's all of them. Now I'm going to rank them by which one I think you should do. I would say Death is top tier for beginners. I'd say next would probably be Life, then Fire. Obviously, those could be pretty interchangeable, but this is just what I think is best for a beginner based on their strengths and weaknesses. Myth, I would say, is pretty middle of the road. Storm would be next because it's a bit difficult. And then at the bottom... Oh my god, I didn't even... Okay, let me go talk about balance real quick, because it would appear I've just completely forgotten to talk about balance. Balance is a school that, as you would think, is balanced. They don't particularly shine in any area, but they do have a lot of blades. They have more resist than most others, but their damage is a bit lackluster, I would say. Do I think balance is good for a starter, especially someone who's going to solo? No. No, I do not. Trust me, as someone who has a balanced Let's Play series, I know how balance is. I know what it's like. Balance is painful. Trust me, especially in the later game, balance can be a bit painful. But it is fun if you have friends. So if you're talking about duoing, that's different. But this is a beginner, like a solo guide, right? This is if you're just a new player in the game, you're not going to want to pick balance. So let's go back here. I would put balance next underneath storm. And then finally at the bottom, I would pick ice. But balance and ice are rather interchangeable. I think that they're both towards the bottom. Now that's my list for rankings of what beginner school you want to do. Obviously, it depends. You know, if you think one of them is interesting, go for it. I'm not saying that any of these... You're not going to die if you play ice first, right? You're not going to die if you play balance first. I'm just telling you which ones are easier, which ones are harder. And this is what I would recommend as a starter and a beginner to the game. So, if you enjoyed, if you found this useful, please drop a like, hit the sub button. I appreciate all the support recently. I'll see you in the next video. Have a fantastic day. Thank you all for watching.